Now, if you haven't had question marks yet in your head, be ready for them to pop up, okay?
Yeah.
Then Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east side, or the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch, and he built a city.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Questions and Almost Answers, the Bible podcast where me, Matt, and Greg, the little pastor and big pastor of Hampton Baptist Church, tackle some difficult Bible questions and do our very best to come up with an answer based on the information we're given. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite stories that I heard as just a wee little child in Sunday school, Cain and Abel. Okay, maybe not my favorite, but they did tell that one in Sunday school, funnily enough.
Yeah.
But we got a question about this story, Greg. What are we chatting about today?
Yeah, so if you haven't heard, um, Cain actually killed Abel. So
Yes, yes,
so
that was
very
unfortunate.
early on in the human story and the Bible story, things go really wrong, right? And you see not only Adam and Eve demonstrating rebellion against God, but you see their children in a struggle, right? So it's not just that they've brought a struggle on themselves, they've passed the struggle on and it's being inherited.
Yeah.
And so Cain and Abel, children of Adam and Eve, they um, get into this conflict, and the conflict is because Abel offers a sacrifice to God in an act of worship,
Mm,
and God is good with him, right? And it's not so much a sacrifice, and that people make a big deal out of it because he, like, it was a lamb that, right? And they think, well, he was doing a better sacrifice because it was a lamb. That's not what Scripture really indicates. The Because this is talked about later in the Bible, for example, in Hebrews, and it's the reason why his offering was accepted was because he was offering it in faith, and
mm,
he was giving the best of what he had, and that was a real act of faith. Like if
right.
you think of somebody who is into the domestication of animals, which is what we're really talking about here with Abel, um, you want to keep the best.
Yeah, and that's pretty tough to
Yes,
domesticate animals anyway. So,
exactly, right. And so your best one is the one you want to keep and to breed, and because that's how domestication works, right? And so this was a big deal for him to make that sacrifice. It showed a real trust in God that God, you're gonna cover this for me.
right.
Where Cain doesn't give that kind of offering. He's not giving the best of, right? So anyway,
Cain gets
God doesn't,
upset.
yes.
Cain gets upset. He kills his brother Abel. And well, there's an interaction with God and Cain where God is like, "Hey, where's your brother?" And Cain's like, "What am I? What am I, a babysitter for him? What do you mean?" And God says, I can hear his blood crying out from the ground to me. What have you done?"
Yeah, and Cain knows he's been found out.
Yeah.
He knows he's caught, and now he's scared. And he's he's not even scared of God so much. He's scared of what other people are going to do to him.
Mm,
So he's scared that if other people know that I killed Abel, then are they going to kill me?
mm,
And so God um, punishes him in a sense, or corrects him by sending him out, which is a pretty reasonable thing to do with a killer, right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, let's get you away from others, and and Cain is very concerned that he is going to get killed too, And so he asked God to protect him in some way. And so God puts a mark on him. We don't know what this is. Maybe it's the first tattoo. I don't know.
Who
Right?
knows?
There's, but there's some mark, some way that God identifies Cain and protects him to make sure that he is not killed. Now, the question that comes from this
Mm,
is okay, so far in the story, we've got Adam, Eve,
right.
Cain, Abel,
Cain, Abel.
four people.
Okay.
Okay. One of them gets killed.
So now we really only got three.
Three. Who are these people that Cain is petrified of, that are
Right.
scared, are going to build a mob and come after him? Because he's probably okay with taking people one on one. Like what he's
Right.
scared of is being attacked, right? Like being taken out. And who are these other people?
Right. And where did they come from?
Yeah,
And that's what we're gonna almost
almost answered.
almost answer today.
Yeah. So I think fundamentally, like where this question comes from is that we have a preconceived idea of this story. And
Right.
and we've had people, especially in modern times, like in throughout church history, there was all kinds of interesting discussion about passages like this and all kinds of
Mm,
different ideas and thoughts. But in recent years, specifically the last like 75 years, in a lot of Christianity, there's been this locked in view that we know exactly what happened in Genesis 1, 2, 3, and 4. We know
right.
exactly all the details of the entire planet Earth.
I've got the footage. I can
Yes.
prove it. I know that this is the way it has to have happened.
Yeah. And I'm I want to be careful because I don't want to insult anybody who's listening or watching or anything like that. But I would give this warning. We have to be really careful of what feels like to me almost arrogant interpretations of scripture. In other words, um, taking passages that are not clear and insisting that they are, and that
Mm,
we have a clarity that needs to be forced on everyone else. Um, so if you're watching, you've got a very narrow and clear in your mind interpretation of the first few chapters of Genesis. Good for you. That's okay. I'm not trying to like change your mind or anything like that, or even call you out.
that's right.
All I'm asking for is some humility with it, right?
Yeah,
Say this is my opinion, this is how I think it is, but not insist that you know. And let me give you an illustration that helped me dramatically, okay? In understanding the first few chapters of Genesis, and we will get to answering the actual question
we're
here in a
almost
second.
doing our best with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is to set up the answer. Um, some of you watching might not have a clue where Hampton Bible Camp is, or what it looks like, or anything like that. Um, and
Give it a quick Google, then you can be on the same page with
there you
us.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'll tell you this. On the property of Hampton Bible Camp, there's a gazebo. Okay.
It's a nice gazebo.
It is a very nice gazebo. And if I had a camera and I took a snapshot, a close up of that gazebo from just a specific angle, then what you would see behind it would be a grassy hill that kind of goes up like this, right?
Yep.
And and if I had just the right angle, you would see just the gazebo and that grassy hill. Okay.
Mm,
And I could label it Hampton Bible Camp.
right.
And so if you were looking at it, you would think, oh, Hampton Bible Camp is a gazebo. And it
Yep.
has this hill
Lovely
behind it.
green hill.
Right. And you could say, well, that's it. I know exactly what Hampton Bible Camp is. I know exactly what it's about. I know it's this gazebo, right? And then you could start making some observations. You could say, hey, that grassy hill that goes up, it's mowed. right?
Oh, so there
So
must
they,
be some kind of mowing person or
yes,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can start to um, build this theory of what this whole thing is just by looking at these little details. You can say, oh, there's these planted trees that are on
Right.
that hill that are going up, and they look like they've been recently planted. And so you could,
People
right? You
are
can,
probably around there. Yeah.
exactly, right. Um, Now, if you take and shift the camera view a little bit. And now you take another relatively close up of that gazebo, you're going to see a pond behind
Mm,
it. And you're going to see a winding road that goes across the bridge, winds around a hill, and then disappears.
mm,
So now you can say, oh, well, there's a roadway. So they must have vehicles there. And you can say, well, the road disappears, so that's the end of Hampton Bible Camp,
mm.
right? So you're making um, these assumptions based on little snapshots, right? Now, if you turn the angle the other way, you've got same gazebo, but behind it there's this huge building, 3 levels
Right.
high,
Yeah.
uh, and you're thinking, oh, this is a big complex. There must be lots of people there, right? So and in all of those snapshots of that gazebo at Hampton Bible Camp, you're still missing so much.
Yeah.
On the other side of that building,
There's a pool.
there's a pool, right?
Yeah.
Up over that rolling hill, there's this another big building where there's bunkhouses and an apartment and bathrooms and
And then
showers.
even up into the woods past that building is an archery range and a yeah.
Exactly. Trail
And
system.
then in the trail system, there, yeah, things
Yeah.
that we could never even see in these
And
snapshots.
right, and Hampton Bible Camp is in Hampton, which is
Wow.
bigger still, and it just keeps going and going. But all you had was these little snapshots of the gazebo, right? And you're making assumptions on all of the rest. So when we get into the first few chapters of Genesis, we get these snapshots, these close-ups of this first family, if you will, that is going to be tracked through the whole Bible.
Mm,
And they are given this prominent place. The image of God is given to them. The, this is this promise is given to them about a savior that's going to come. That comes right out early on in chapter 3 of Genesis. So you've got this very interesting close up, and there are different angles. Like you read
right.
Genesis chapter 1 and you think, oh, I got it figured out now, right? Then you
And then
read chapter 2,
Genesis chapter 2, it's a different angle, and it's
it's
like,
a
whoa, whoa,
different
whoa,
angle,
wait
right?
a second.
And everything's in a different order. There's all kinds of stuff going on that wasn't going on in chapter 1. You're like, oh, what is this? Is this a whole different family? No, it's the same family, same people, same humans, totally different angle. But what we must not do is assume that we've got the whole picture,
Mm,
right? And that what is being described there is all that there is, right?
mm,
Because there's these little hints. Um, just like with the snapshot of the gazebo, there's these little hints that there's more to Hampton Bible Camp than the gazebo. You can tell because the lawn's mowed, right? You can
right.
tell because there's this building. You can tell because there's this road going somewhere. They would have not have built the road if there wasn't something
Something to
beyond
go
the
to.
bend, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at those pictures, it's appropriate and right to be curious.
Mm,
What's beyond the building? What's beyond that hill?
mm,
What's around that bend, right? And there's all kinds of little hints of that in Genesis 1, 2, 3, and 4 that there's more around the bend. That
right.
there's stuff going on here that's beyond the focus of the snapshot, right?
And I think one thing that's fascinating for me is that it seems like the snapshots are focused on something.
Hmm.
And it it can kind of annoy me in my little Western brain that the snapshots aren't focusing on other things. I could ask, okay, well, why wasn't there more information on these specific things? But they are all focused, and I believe that the writer was very intentional on focusing it the way it was, because maybe there was supposed to be a focus of those chapters instead of maybe what we want it to be.
Right. Absolutely. And we have to be content with that, right? And not just content with it, look at as you were implying there, like why is the focus on this particular
Yeah,
family? Why is the focus here on Cain? Like why is this story even included? And and that is a powerful, powerful question to answer. Like like why would God even care to talk about Cain?
mm,
Like he's an obvious rebel. He's not there's no indication that he ever becomes part of God's family. He never quote unquote converts, right? And he
right.
doesn't confess. He doesn't get right with God, but God is still loving him and still protecting him and still providing for him.
Yeah,
It's, it's this story isn't about Cain, it's about the God who loves Cain even though Cain walks away.
yeah, that's incredible. And that's,
Yeah,
well, I believe it sets up the focus for the story of Jesus, right? And we see who God is through that.
absolutely. And so as we often do, we are only going to almost answer the actual question today, but the bigger question, right, is who's in focus here?
Right.
And that we can answer.
It's God.
God. God
God.
is in focus. And this is setting up what's going to come up later in the story when God first reveals his character. And the first description God gives of himself is, I love to forgive sins.
Yeah. And we see
And
that. We
yeah,
see that with Adam and Eve. You know what? They he made clothes for them. He cared for them after they rejected him and Cain and all of the people after. We just see it over and over.
right. S- So now to get to almost answering the
Now,
the actual
almost answering the
question.
question, where did
So
these people come from that were gonna kill Cain or gonna
right.
attack him?
So I'm going to read a few of the verses. I'll start in verse 13 here of chapter 4. And Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground. I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth. And it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me. And the Lord said to him, therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark on Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him. Then Cain, now if you haven't had question marks yet in your head, be ready for them to pop up, okay?
Yeah.
Then Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east side, or the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch, and he built a city and
Okay,
called the
hold up,
name of
Greg.
the city after
Oh wait.
the name of his son Enoch.
Okay, I'm gonna start asking some of these questions. So number one, where did his wife come from?
Yeah,
He went into a land that had a name. It seemed like it was
it already
established.
established.
And
Yep.
so if Enoch built a city, Enoch must have been some crazy strong guy to be lifting all the bricks all by himself.
Right. Well, it's actually Cain that
Or
built this city. He named it after his son Enoch, right?
okay,
But
okay.
yeah, so but you're right. Like okay, let's define what a city is, right? And the word that's used here is a word that's used all through the Old Testament to describe a city, right? And what is a city?
It's a lot of people in a spot and they build buildings and they live there.
Yeah. So at a bare minimum, you have humans living in a stationary place. Okay.
Right.
So they're not. migrating, following animals. They're not uh, hunter-gatherers. They are in a settlement. And the implication of this word city consistently is that it is a major center. So the areas around, they come just like in our area, St. John would be kind of the closest city. So if you want anything of significance, you go to St. John, right?
Right.
It's the that's why we call it a city. It's the major center of our area. So it's no different back then in Bible times. So we're talking about a populated area that needed a city, that needed supplies, that needed all kinds of stuff. And Cain at least um, took control of this
Right.
city, if not building it and organizing its construction. And it became a center where other people, other groups and families came to get what they needed. So this is
So there's got to be, so there are other people because you have to, like, founding a city, there needs to be people for it.
right.
So where
So,
did they come from?
right. And there's no answer given, right?
None.
But we're given again. If we could go back to the gazebo illustration, it's just like that. When you look deep and with a curious mind at the snapshots, all of the snapshots are pointing to there's more than what you see. There's more than what you see. There's more than what you
Mm,
see. And when we're reading Genesis 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's what these snapshots tell us. There's more than what you can see here. There's something beyond. We should be reading this with curiosity and humility, saying we don't know it all, but what we need to know, God is telling us very clearly. So we need to look at what we are clearly being taught
mm,
about God, but with the background image, we have to have question marks, curiosity, and humility because
right.
we don't have a sweet clue and God didn't care to tell us.
That's right. So, wow. So, Greg, I guess I'm curious, what are some of the theories? Because do you
Mm.
think is it beneficial to talk about the theories, or is
Sure.
that do we just leave that up to people to figure out? Because this is one of those things where, guys, we don't know.
Right.
But
And that is like there's all kinds of different ways that people have tried to kind of reconcile all of this. Um, so there some people would look at it as this story of Adam and Eve. It wouldn't be to say that there weren't other human-like people on Earth. Um, we could use the word hominids or other, but that this is the story of what we consider humanity. But there were
mm,
others, and we know genetically that humans did um, like Neanderthals, for example, they humans like I have, you'd have Matt, Neanderthal DNA, right, in us, because our ancestors intermarried with them, right?
mm,
So these other quote unquote people could have been that, like that. Some people believe that that's what's going on here. Some people might believe that no, this is all what we would consider quote unquote modern humans. Um, Adam and Eve and their family were the first ones called out from
that
um,
group.
that group, given the image of God uh, as a position, right? And that they're representatives of the whole group now being given this position of being in God's image, being in his likeness. Um, so you've got kind of the creative thinking views of this all the way to the more narrow view where um, Adam and Eve were getting busy, having a lot of kids really quick.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yep, and they
Yeah.
were just popping them out, which is not actually how the genealogies are presented. Just to
Mm,
be clear, because the genealogy are actually given. That's assuming that they're listing all their kids, which is a big assumption.
Yeah.
But so it could have been they were having kids faster, like God was speeding the whole process up. I don't know. To me, that's a little bit silly, but I understand for some people that their only option as far as the way they would see this um, carrying out. I don't have a sweet clue, and
I don't have a sweet clue either.
yeah, but I think what it does is it lets us know that it's okay to be curious and ask questions
Yeah.
about this stuff, right?
Now I've got a question. Now we don't have a specific answer for this. We don't know where these people came from. And my question is that okay? Do we do we need to know? Because I know for some people, like how could we trust this part of the Bible if we don't know an answer here? How do
Mm.
we know we can know things in other parts?
So not knowing everything, first of all, is just part of the human experience,
Mm,
and it's actually okay and it's good.
yeah.
Um, Jesus, when he took on, so here you have God the Son, God comes in the flesh, takes on a human body, and one of the things that we see in Jesus is not knowing everything.
Mm,
Right? Even though in his deity he had access, like he had access to all knowledge, but as a human being with a human brain, like his followers want to know, like when are you coming
when he
back?
coming
As often he
back?
says, actually, I don't know, guys. Like only the Father knows that. I
Yeah.
I I just don't know. Um, and and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
So part of the human experience is not knowing everything, and God didn't give us the what we call the scriptures or the Bible so that we would be know-it-alls.
No. Yeah.
He gave us that to point directly to Jesus,
That's right.
right? So everything, Peter put it this way, everything we need for life and godliness. So everything we need to live a life that connects us to God so that we are in relation with God and that we can live out God's purpose in this world. All the information we need for that has been given to us.
And
And
praise
so,
God for that. Yeah.
right. So, what we need to know is that God gave us this position of being in his image. We rebelled,
Yeah.
right? And there are consequences for that rebellion, and we should just be destroyed. But
But
God
God
is so
doesn't.
loving,
He's
right?
so loving.
And he so wants to forgive. He refuses to give up on us, and
That's
he
right.
tracks us down. Whether it's Adam and Eve, whether it's Cain, whether it's you just look through the history of the Bible, and that's what we need to know,
That's
right?
right.
And so that is clear, and all the other stuff is just as you see the snapshot is not of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. The snapshot is of God.
That's right.
They're just background images. They're just that's not the focus. So if I'm struggling with this, it's because I'm trying to find out about humans instead of finding out about God.
Yeah.
Let me make this really clear. If you want to find out about humans, just go to talk to a human, right?
Yeah.
If you want to find out what happened in the past, start digging in the ground, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how you get those answers. The Bible's not trying to give us those answers. It's giving us a snapshot of God. And
That's
why
right.
would we look away from God and try looking for human history when God's saying, "Hey, look at me,"
Yeah.
right? I'm here for you. So I don't know. That's my crazy take.
My crazy take, Greg, is you know what? When I read this as a kid, I did not even realize that there was a whole bunch of people out of nowhere, and I'm happy to look at this and focus on God.
Mm.
And I hope that maybe you watching would be interested. Maybe go back and give it a second look if you want to be curious. I think it's very valuable to be curious, but it's important not to mistake the purpose. Um, and that is the focus, and that is God, and that He loves us, and that He had a plan even before all this that to happen to redeem humanity. So, guys, thanks so much for watching. We hope that you enjoyed our discussion. Did we give an answer? Not this time because we can't, but that's okay. If you want to give us more questions that we can't answer, or maybe try to answer, or maybe do answer, put them down in the comments and we'd love to discuss them. Or send us a message any way that you'd like to give that to us. Carrier pigeon, we will accept those too. So, thank you so much for watching. And my name is Matt, and this is Greg, and this has been Questions and Almost Answers.